Good evening, everyone. I request all of you to please settle down. We will be beginning the program in another 10 minutes. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Lucknow Expression Society, I, Deepa Mishra, extend a very warm welcome to each one of you. As our tradition, we begin the program with the lamp lighting. And I would like to invite our chief guest, Ms. Zareen Vikaji, Dr. PC Sarkar, Anand Prakash Maheshwari ji, Ms. Kanak Rekha Chauhan, and Mr. Alok Shukla to join us for lamp lighting. invite Ms. Safina to present Bandish. She will be presenting a Bandish by Amir Khusro.
Adab. I'm Safina with my accompanist Zishan Bhai on sarangi, Arif Bhai on harmonium, और इलियास हुसैन साहब on tabla. The song, ये बंदिश है एक. It was written by Hazrat Amir Khusro. ये एक बंदिश है. This song was written by Hazrat Amir Khusro, who was a devout disciple of great saint Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia. The song speaks of the arrival of the divine presence in the temple of heart, which is the throne of God. So the song from the point of view celebrates the beauty and presence of the spiritual teacher and his arrival. It's a celebration, glorification, and merging in the image of one spiritual teacher, which is equivalent of the teacher's arrival within the humanness of the disciple. So it also speaks of mystic lovers of God and how the presence, excuse me, sorry, I think I'm audible to all of you. So this Bandish, it speaks of mystic lovers of God and how the presence or absence of God makes everything or nothing for divine lovers. So pesh hai. चरण लगायो निर्धन को, चरण लगायो निर्धन को, एरी सखी रे मोर पिया घर आए, एरी सखी रे मोर पिया घर आए. मैं तो खड़ी थी आस लगाए, मैं तो खड़ी थी, मैं तो खड़ी थी आस लगाए, मेहंदी कजरा मांग सजाए, मैं तो खड़ी थी आस लगाए, मेहंदी कजरा मांग सजाए, देख सुरतिया अपने पिया की, देख सुरतिया अपने पिया की, जिसका पिया संग बीते सावन, उस दुल्हन की रैन सुहागन। जिस सावन में पिया घर नाही, जिस सावन में पिया घर नाही, आग लगे उस आंगन को, आग लगे उस आंगन को। एरी सखी रे मोरे पिया घर आए, एरी सखी रे मोरे पिया घर आए। अपने पिया को मैं किस विध पाऊं, अपने पिया को मैं किस विध पाऊं, अपने पिया अपने पिया को मैं किस विध पाऊं। लाज की मारी मैं डूबी डूबी जाऊं, तुम ही जतन करो एरी सखी रे, तुम ही जतन करो एरी सखी रे। मैं मन भाऊं साजन को, मैं मन भाऊं साजन को। एरी सखी रे मोरे पिया घर आए, एरी सखी रे मोरे पिया घर आए, एरी सखी रे मोरे पिया घर आए। पिया घर आए, पिया घर आए, पिया घर आए। थैंक यू सो मच।
का सफीना जी इतना सुंदर समा बांधने के लिए। एंड नाउ I'd like to invite our chief guest, Zareen Bika ji, Dr. PC Sarkar, Kanak Rekha Chauhan ji, Alok ji, and Gaurav Prakash for the book launch. And Anand Prakash Maheshwari ji. I request all the LES members to please join us on the stage for a group photograph. आइए। हाँ। I request Kanakji to give a small introduction of our author today, Dr. PC Sarkar.
गुड इवनिंग। बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है आज आप सब लोग हम लोग के बुलाने पर यहाँ आए हैं, जबकि आज शहर में बहुत सारे कार्यक्रम हैं। तो हम लोग लखनऊ की बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन लखनऊ से वाजिद अली शाह कलकत्ते चले गए थे। और मैं अपनी बात कलकत्ते की एक बात से शुरू करूँगी कि कलकत्ते का जो जिक्र किया तूने हम नशी, कलकत्ते का जो जिक्र किया तूने हम नशी, एक तीर मेरे सीने पे मारा कि हाय हाय। मिर्ज़ा गालिब साहब की हज़ारों ख्वाहिशों में एक ख्वाहिश ये भी थी कि वो कलकत्ते में काश आबाद रहते। उनका जन्म हुआ आगरा में, वो रहे दिल्ली में, लेकिन कहीं दिल के कोने में एक टीस थी कलकत्ते के लिए। बंगाल को कमाल की जगह कहते हुए गालिब साहब ने कहा है कि बंगाली 100 साल पीछे भी जीते हैं और 100 साल आगे भी जीते हैं। तो हमारे डॉक्टर सरकार, हमारे दोस्त, एक ऐसे ही बंगाली हैं जिनका की शौक़ है हिस्ट्री और जिनका की पेशा है साइंटिस्ट का। तो उन्होंने अपनी साइंस के ज़रिए जो रिसर्चेस की हैं, तमाम पेपर्स लिख डाले हैं, तो वो हम लोग को 100 साल आगे ले जाते हैं। जबकि उनका शौक़, उनकी हिस्ट्री, उसने हम लोगों को इतिहास की तहों में जाकर जाने कैसे कैसे नायाब ख़जाने दिए हैं। तो डॉक्टर साहब का एक बड़ा फॉर्मल सा परिचय दे देते हैं। Dr. Sarkar, former principal scientist, ICAR, Government of India, holds a PhD in organic chemistry. He is an alumnus of St. Francis College, Lucknow, Lucknow Christian College, and University of Lucknow. In 2023, he opted for voluntary retirement from active service and returned to the city of his birth to pursue his passion for studying and writing about lost heritage of the city. His first book, Lucknow, Buildings and Begums and the British, published in 2015, contained the unusual aspects of the city, the buildings, other than the more famous Imam Baras and the historic residencies, and Begum, other than Begum Hazrat Mahal, who altered the course of Awadh's history. His second book, Lucknow, Ode to a City, was released in 2021. It's my personal favorite. If not read it, please do. It provided a descriptive analysis of Lucknow's lost gateways, gardens, and forts, as well as the evolution of hybrid Nawabi architecture and the transformation of Lucknow in terms of city planning and landscaping under colonial rule. His most recent book of 2022 was titled Abode of Fairies, Lucknow's Pari Khana, जो मैंने आज खरीदी है और बाहर अवेलेबल है, आप उसको भी ज़रूर पढ़िए। नवाब वाजिद अली शाह ने जो परी खाना बनाया था, उसके पीछे क्या क्या था और क्या नहीं था, वो सब कुछ उस किताब में है। Today's the book for which we have gathered here today, LUCKNOW CHRONICLES, Memories, Musings and Myths, is Dr. Sarkar's 4th book, and he's presently writing his 5th book. And we are very happy that he's doing so because we look forward to his every new book. Before I invite Dr. Sarkar to take the stage, let me just inform you that our chief guest today is Ms. Zareen Pikaji, Lucknow की एक अजीम शख्सियत हैं आप, our true blue Lucknowi as we say, and she has also written her autobiography, which we all should read because it's like a handbook for Lucknow, and it's a riot just like her. You spend an hour with her and you would be in fields. हम उनके शुक्रगुजार हैं कि उन्होंने बेहद मसरूफ़ होने के बावजूद आज यहाँ पर बतौर मेहमान खुसूसी आना चाहा. It was Loretto's Alumni Association program, and today is also the Martineers. So we are missing some of our friends, but we are really, really grateful to Ms. Zareen Bikaji for being here. Now I invite the chief person of the day, Dr. Sarkar, to come here and say a few words. Welcome, Dr. Sarkar.
Well, thank you so much, Kanak, my dear friend. And I'm was delighted to see so many of my friends and admirers and dignitaries, so whom all to mention. But of course, my special greetings to our chief guest, Madam Vikkaji, and Mr. Alok Shukla, who was instrumental in getting this venue and helped us a lot in organizing this program. So I give you my heartiest welcome, and I would like to express my thanks to all of you because you've spared your valuable time, you've wasted fuel also maybe coming here. Some of you were scared how to reach this venue, little off route. And as Kanak said, that other programs are also running parallel in Lucknow, so some of you have left those programs and care to join me. So it all speaks of the affection that you have for Lucknow and maybe you have for me also. And I would like to thank you. I'm just speechless. I don't know how to express my gratitude to all of you. As I stand before you, it gives me a feeling of déjà vu because not very long back I had a book release, maybe 1.5 years ago. So many of you were present in that also. So as most of you are knowing that I am not a professional historian. I don't have a degree in social sciences. I am a scientist by profession. My training is in physical sciences. But this is my passion of writing about Lucknow and its heritage. So since I have been away from Lucknow for the past many decades, I kind of developed nostalgia for the city, and I started reading and collecting literature and information, and ultimately I managed to gather a lot of data and research material, and I thought that some of those can be collated into a book form and presented to you. So these series of books which I keep on writing. My emphasis on this subject is that I write about the lost heritage, the lesser known heritage of Lucknow. Not exactly history, but somehow history and heritage become entangled, so sometimes I have to talk about history also. But since I am a physical scientist, the tools I used are of physical sciences, so sometimes I get into a clash with historians. I tend to be very precise and very critical, and as the title here goes, myths. So I sometimes like to bust myths and urban legends which keep on floating in a beautiful city. So my first book, as Kanakji was saying, that it was dealing with the Begums, very powerful, very ruthless, very rich. And we all know that Begum Hazrat Mahal was famous in Lucknow, but there were so many other Begums. I dealt about the residents of Lucknow. We all know about the residency. There was a massive siege of residencies, but we never realized that why so much hatred was there towards the residency, because of the residents who stayed inside. So who were the residents? Not many of us know. So this kind of thing I deal with, that unknown facts or lesser known facts or forgotten facts. I like to enlighten people that yes, there's a lot more to Lucknow than the Imambara or the residency or few other structures that we are knowing like Constantia. Now this book. So this book doesn't have a basic focus, as you know. It's just a random collection of chapters. That's why the title is also a little diffused. The book just before this was Parikhana. It was a English version of Wajid Ali Shah's Ishqnama, which he had written as a youth. So my previous books had a focus. Like Ode to a City had a focus on the lost structures of Lucknow, which you will never see again, and the evolution of the architecture of Lucknow, which we refer to as Nawabi architecture or hybrid architecture. But this book doesn't have a focus. It is a collection of chapters. Each chapter is independent, and I hope that it will be interesting to all of you who are into this thing. So I won't take much time, but still I would like to brief you all, since you have come a long way and you would like to learn about my book and what you're going to buy outside. So one of the chapters that I've written is about a Begum. Now I'll not go into details who the Begum, what the Begum, but I'll give you some teasers. So other than the famous Begums like Badshah Begum or Bahu Begum or Begum Hazrat Mahal, I have dealt with a Begum who rebelled against the Nawabi rule in Lucknow. That time was the rule of Saadat Ali Khan, whose tomb you see near Tulsi Theatre. That Begum was so frustrated with the Nawabi rule at that time, due to reasons you'll read in the book, that she complained to the British Governor General that I'll leave Awadh and I'll go and settle somewhere else. And the The British authorities resident at Lucknow and also at Calcutta, they tried to pursue her that please don't do that. And Sadat Ali Khan was reigning at the time. He said that he was appalled that how can a noble lady of Lucknow, ex-queen, or not ex-queen, you can say ex-begum, walk out of the state and stay somewhere else. But she didn't listen and she did walk out. So that one chapter is devoted to this rebellious begum, which you will find very interesting. That Begum lies buried in Lucknow. I won't tell you where. When you read the book, you'll know. And it's a famous place, but not many of us would realize that when you visit that place, the Begum is also lying in eternal peace there. We know about the chronology of the Nawabi rule in Lucknow, which started from Burhanul Mulk and ended with Wajid Ali Shah. And there were very many people like Burhanul Mulk, succeeded by Safdar-Jung, succeeded by Shuja-ud-Dawla, succeeded by Asaf-ud-Dawla, succeeded by Wazir Ali Khan, succeeded by, Sadat Ali Khan, so on and so forth. So when I was doing my research on Lucknow's heritage or history, whatever you say, I realized that during each succession, there was a turmoil and there was some conflict. The succession was never very smooth. And very interesting stories came up. That why the succession was not smooth. It is not like the son is succeeding the father. It normally used to happen in medieval regimes, that the eldest son succeeds the father. Here it is not like that. The succession had a very different pattern. Firstly, the succession was not as per right or as per the lineage. It was a matter of the choice of the Mughal king, the Mughal emperor. So that was one. Then sometimes the suitability of the candidate was another. Then the third one was the British also tried to play their games and introduce their own successors. These kind of very strange happenings occurred. And with each succession, which I have given a very, very detailed chapter in my book, you will, I think, enjoy that, oh my God, this happened. It was not like smooth that Asaf-ud-Dawla came and then he died, and then Wazir Ali came, and then he was succeeded very fine by Sadat Ali Khan. But in the interim period, each ruler faced huge problems in securing his seat and then governing the state of Awadh, because his seat was very shaky. And he spent a lot of time in smoothing out his own regime than concentrating on the governance of Awadh. And some very funny and very amusing incidents also came up, particularly during the reign of Nasiruddin Haidar, who was the second Badshah of Awadh. So those things I've described in my book in a very light, humorous way. Some of my readers complained that my previous book, Ode to City, was too detailed and too complicated, not really meant for reading at leisure. So this book I'm giving in a pleasant and happy mood, and you like to recline in a chair and just read, and without any tension and without exerting your mind or thought. So this I have emphasized in this writing of mine. So the stories which are connected with the succession pattern of Awadh rulers is very interesting. I'm sure you will enjoy, and sometimes you will laugh also. That, Arey Baba, aisa bhi hota tha, it's so funny. But then it happened, and it was history, and it's never discussed by historians, or never discussed in any history book you'll find. So all this material which I gathered, I thought that why not present before you, so you'll enjoy and have a good time and increase your knowledge, and maybe laugh and smile that, yaar, kya din the. So you see musings. Musing, you just ponder, you just think, aap sochte ho, gambhir mudra mein sochte ho ki, yaar, kaisa hota hoga, pata nahi kya life hota hoga, kya karte honge ye log. So this chapter will make you think even more कि भाई ये क्या इनकी ज़िंदगी होती थी, ये लोग क्या करते थे, अच्छा काम भी करते थे, बवाल भी करते थे, बकेड़ा भी करते थे, सब कुछ करते थे, and yet Lucknow would flourish in that medieval period of the Nawabi rule. So I'll take a break. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we all know about Claude Martin and the French influence in Lucknow. Not exactly the French influence, but okay, Claude Martin's influence. And whenever there's any talk of France or anything, Claude Martin's name comes up. Very good. Primarily because of the schools that run in his names. So many of you might not be knowing that Claude Martin had 30 properties in Lucknow. But those properties nobody talks about. Some are there, some have vanished, some have like being modified, some are sold off, etc., etc. So the schools are bearing the name of Lord Martin, and he's famous for that. But in my book chapter, which I've given about the Frenchmen in Awadh or in Lucknow, I've given a whole list of French officials who had a tremendous influence on Lucknow. Like Claude Martin, you can say if he had influence in Lucknow, then another Frenchman had a tremendous influence in Faizabad, in the court of Shuja-ud-Dawla. Now I'll not give names, that you have to read the book. Tremendous influence, tremendous. That Frenchman was so powerful that when the Mughal emperor visited Shuja-ud-Dawla, the emperor went to the Frenchman's house to greet him instead of vice versa. Now you can imagine the power, the administrative power and the financial clout of that Frenchman, which we never discuss about. It's Claude Martin all the way. So why not read about other Frenchmen who had such an influence in the Nawabi court? Many of us who are into Nawabi architecture, not all, I know it's a confusing subject. All of us are familiar with this Tripolia gate which we see in Lucknow. So many places you will see the Imambada or the Alambagh gate or the Sikandarbagh gate. All these gates, they have a typical structure. Tripolia gate, there is a central arched structure, and then there are two smaller structures beside. And then there's a recessed doorway or the recessed entrance. And there's some windows on the second floor or the first floor. These windows are like projected. Typical architecture. And then there is a roof line which may be serrated, which may be plain or flat. But this Tripolia structure, which is adorning the gateways of very many monuments of Lucknow, this is not an Islamic architecture or Islamic structure. It is totally a French-influenced structure, and again it came up in Faizabad, not in Lucknow. And we give a lot of importance to Asaf-ud-Dawla, that Asaf-ud-Dawla built this and Asaf-ud-Dawla, fine, that's okay. But the foundation of this typical Nawabi structure having Tripolia gateways in all the monuments first came up in Faizabad. And again, this was the contribution of a Frenchman. So you see, in this chapter, I have detailed the role of several of these French officials who populated the state of Awadh and later the kingdom of Awadh, and they gave their contribution, but nobody really remembers them today. So some of you may ask that what were these Frenchmen doing in Nawabi courts and India and Awadh and Delhi and maybe Rajasthan also, maybe some southern states. What happened was that with time, actually the British East India Company and the French East India Company, they were the competitors in the Indian subcontinent. But with time, the French, they became weaker because they concentrated more on other places, like the West Indies, not the East Indies, they concentrated on Africa. So their strength and their military strength and their finances, they decreased in India. And there came a time that many of these French officials, they were soldiers, they had no money, they had no jobs, they were thrown out of the service and they had nothing to do. So some of them opted for service under some native ruler. Some of them opted to go back to France and face poverty. Some even went to France and facing poverty and problem, they again came back to India. At least some prospects are there. So due to this, we see a lot of French influence and French power also in during the Mughal, last stages of the Mughal rule, and also in Awadh, where the Nawabi and the Badshah period was there. Many of you know about the name of Begum Samru. So she was also the wife of a Frenchman, but nothing to do with Awadh, so I'll not discuss that. But anyhow, in my chapter on these Frenchmen, you will come to know and you'll be surprised to know that so many Frenchmen had given their contribution to the development of Awadh, specifically Faizabad, and then Lucknow. So I hope I'm not boring you, but then since we are all here to listen about this book, so I'm just giving introduction. I'm not taking any names. I'll leave that as a suspense for you. Okay, now I'll come to the term battle, ladai, yudh. So if I ask any layman or any man, any person for that matter, ki लखनऊ में लड़ाई वड़ाई कहाँ हुई थी कुछ पता है ना 1857 में, हाँ भाई रेजिडेंसी में हुई थी, देन इमीडिएटली दैट थिंग विल कम दैट हाँ रेजिडेंसी में हुई थी, हाँ भाई अंग्रेज़ों के साथ हुई थी, दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग. सम पीपल विद अ लिटिल मोर नॉलेज विल से नहीं सिकंदर बाग में भी हुई थी, कैसर बाग में भी हुई थी. फाइन. सी एक्चुअली द टर्म बैटल, there's a difference between the term battle and a skirmish or an engagement. A battle means two armies face each other with their full force, with whatever ammunition and arms and men they have, and one of them loses. That is a battle. If there is a small engagement and there is a skirmish and there's a fight and there is a brief, shooting and killing and then somebody just goes away, that cannot be termed as a battle. So whatever happened at the residency was 100% not a battle, it was a siege. The British were trapped inside the residency premises and the Indian freedom fighters, they kept on bombarding the structure with whatever arms and ammunitions they had. It was a one-sided thing. It was not a battle. So similarly, Kaisar Bagh, it was the reverse, that the Indian forces and the the Nawabi nobility, the Indian soldiers, they were trapped inside Kaisar Bagh palace complex and the British were bombarding them from various vantage points. Again, it was not a battle. So where did these battles happen? So I have given a list of battles, real fights which happened between the British and the Indian freedom fighters, and these are listed in my book. And some of the terms which I will use and some of the locals which I will describe may not be very famous, may not be very well known. Now, for example, if I say the first battle of Lucknow happened in Ismailganj. So maximum people might not realize that what is Ismailganj. Bhai, ye kahan se aa gaya? हम तो सिकंदर बाग जानते हैं, हम तो कैसर बाग जानते हैं. Ismail, what is saying? But Ismailganj is right next to Gomti Nagar, near the Kukrel Bridge, where touching Indra Nagar. That is the old name of Ismailganj is the old name of that area. The first battle of the British and the Indian freedom fighters happened there, and the British lost that battle. But there is no plaque, there is no memorial, there is nothing in Ismailganj or Indra Nagar or near Kukrel that such a thing happened. So people don't know and people don't care. But people like me, crazy people like me, we document these things and we write books like this. So Ismailganj was a significant battle between the British and the Indian soldiers. Another very, very bloodthirsty battle occurred at Begum Koti, which was formerly palace in Janpat Market we see today. But we go to Janpat Market, we never realize that, okay, something really happened. Is there a plaque here? Is there a memorial or a pillar or anything to remember the Indian freedom fighters? No, nothing is there. But a significant battle happened there. A significant battle happened in Sikandar Bagh. You see a memorial plaque there. With whom? The plaque mentions the British officers, not the Indian freedom fighters. So in these battles which I have discussed, I have tried to make a balanced view, the British view, and also whatever information I could find on the Indian view. So most of the descriptions, if you find, usually you will not find. But if you do come across descriptions, they will be British descriptions, and they will mention the valor and the bravery of British officers, and so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. There's no mention of the Indian generals, the Indian freedom fighters. So I have tried to strike a balance, that mentioning the Indian generals, mentioning the Indian leaders, as well as the British officers, because a battle is a battle. We can't take sides. So somebody has to lose, somebody has to win. Unfortunately, the Indians lost these series of battles. Another battle I'd like to mention, and that went on for a long time, that was at Bashiratganj. Now I think 99% or maybe 100% will not know where is Bashiratganj in Lucknow or in the outskirts of Lucknow. But yes, a significant battle occurred at Bashiratganj between the Indian freedom forces and the British army. So these battles I have listed in my chapter. I think that has a lot of bloodthirsty descriptions. Some of you might be like, my God, what is he writing? But those descriptions I have quoted. They are not my sentences, they are not my words. So these the bloodthirsty battles which occurred especially at Bashiratganj and especially at Sikandar Bagh, they are truly depressing and very, very sad. But the saddest part is not the battle. The saddest part is that now, after gaining freedom, we just don't remember We don't even know the name of Bashiratganj or Ismailganj, what to pick up, set up a plaque or a memorial pillar or anything. Nothing is there. So nothing is left except reading books and muse and ponder कि पता नहीं कैसा होता होगा, अच्छा ऐसा भी हुआ था. So that will be the focus of this chapter on battles of Lucknow. Friends, when we talk of any city or any place for that matter and we discuss about its past, we need to examine maps and photographs and images ki what might have been there, what might have happened. So what is the source of our information when we study Lucknow? Lucknow of old. The Lucknow that was there but it is not existing now. The buildings, the forts, the structures. So formerly there were painters who used to come, mostly of foreign origin, and they would paint. So those paintings were very detailed and in full color. And now when we see those paintings, we come to realize that, acha, this structure was like this at that point of time when it was built. There are paintings in which the Asafi Masjid and the Imam Bada is being built. The scaffoldings are there, the bamboo poles are there, that it is being built. So a painter had come at that point of time in the 1790s and he saw that the Imam Bada is being built. So he painted this thing, work of art, and you can see the scaffoldings. So, excuse me. So, such paintings give us a lot of information that what might have been the original structure. Might have been the original structure of the Asafi Imam Bada or the Asafi Masjid. You see a huge flight of steps on the Asafi Masjid. Those steps were not there originally. There were small chambers. Those chambers are called Gulam Gardish. People, travelers, or menial people, they would stay in those and maintain the building. So those were all covered up by the British, and those stairs were built, those flight of stairs which you see in Asafi Masjid. Why did the British cover all these cubicles, the Gulam Gardish of so many structures, monuments of Lucknow, whether it's the tomb of Sadat Ali or whether it's the Imam Bada or anything? So there's a reason behind. They were scared that these cubicles, these small chambers might offer shelter. In future, if any other revolt occurs, then the revolutionaries will get an opportunity to hide within these cubicles. So let us seal all these cubicles. So now you see the tomb of Sadat Ali Khan, it is standing on a mound. But if you break apart that mound, you will still see those cubicles or Gulam Gardish, those small chambers. If you break open the stairs of, the flight of stairs of the Asafi Masjid, you will see the total, you can say, a line of chambers which are on the plinth level of the masjid. And they have all been blocked and sealed by the British so that future generations will not even know that what's inside. So these interesting things, how do we know? Because the paintings are there. Paintings mostly of European origin, Frenchmen, the British, they came as tourists and travelers and they made their paintings and went off. And we refer to those paintings today and we come to know that, oh, acha, this Dilkusha which we are seeing in ruins, it might have been like this, okay, that kind of thing, if you're interested. If you're not interested, then it's all nonsense. But people like me who are interested, it is like this, acha, aisa hota tha, oh my God, हम तो सोच नहीं सकते थे. I feel like that way. I muse, that I ponder कि ऐसा था, oh, fantastic. But it's all gone. But those paintings are there and we refer to those paintings. So I have written a chapter on the paintings and the painters, that these painters came to Lucknow or Awadh and they gave their creative output. Who were these painters? What was their output? What information we gather from them? So that is part one. With 1840, photography came. So now the painters were in trouble, the photography had come, but photography had one disadvantage. If you can just think, you can tell me, otherwise I will tell you, that photography was hazy. The technique was not perfect, and it was in black and white. Whereas the paintings, they were in full color, they were stunning creations. So a lot more information could be gathered from the paintings rather from the photographs which started appearing from 1850 onwards. But still, we refer to those photographs and we gather a lot of information that what might have been there in Lucknow at that period of time. So another chapter I've devoted to the photographers this time, their output, who were these photographers, what was their training, what was their expertise, what photography they did, what new information we can gather from their photographs. And I've tried to make it as interesting as possible with more of images and less of textual matter. So these are some of my chapters. Another chapter I've discussed on the development of the print media of Lucknow, that you read the book. Might be a little boring if I start talking about it here. After 1857, this calligraphy was slowly vanishing and the printing technology came and there were a lot of publications. And again, we refer to those publications now to see what was happening in Lucknow after 1857, when the colonial rule was new. And what was the frustrations and the aspirations of the local populace. Those things were appearing in those publications. And slowly there was this evolution of the newspaper, the periodical. So these things I have discussed in one chapter of mine. Some of you may find it interesting, some may find it boring, but anyway, it's there and not discussed previously. So I'll end my talk with something different. I hope you'll enjoy. See, when I had written my first book, Lucknow Buildings, Begums and the British, there was a chapter on ghost stories of Lucknow. And I'd come across many tales and stories and narrations that yahan pe bhoot hai, and that is haunted, and that is cursed, and this, that, this, that. Okay, fine. So I had written a chapter, and that chapter became, I think, more famous than the book itself. It's very interesting and very witty. I'm not saying those are true or they are false, but anyway, people used to say that Lucknow has had so many tragedies, so many people dying and not even getting a proper burial or not even getting a proper funeral or last rites. So their souls and their spirits are all disturbed, that kind of thing. And also the British whose homes were in the UK, but they died here in bad conditions. So their spirits are also wandering, this kind of background. So Lucknow city, which is faced so much of tragedy, parts of it are haunted. Buildings are haunted, monuments are haunted, some park is haunted. It was an interesting chapter. I also enjoyed writing it. Later, many people came to me कि we want more ghost stories. भाई हमने कहा मुझे नहीं पता भूतों की कहानी, मेरा स्टॉक खत्म हो गया, मुझे नहीं पता, आपको पता, आप हमको बताओ. So I'll write or I'll compile. So this went on and on, and कि हमको सुनना है, we want this, that. So I did a lot of research. I met people, I chatted and talked, and I came across an account, and that was a pretty horrifying account. So I have devoted a novella, I will call it a novella, not a novel, because it's a very long chapter sort of thing, which is in the last part of my book. It has rather horrifying details. I will not say it's true, I will not say it's false. Many of you might be able to identify the local, but names have been changed and things have been little modified so that no nuisance is created. But that narrative which I have presented, it is pretty horrifying. And I hope that you will enjoy that ghost story or that horror story, thinking it to be a story. And it is a fully Lucknow-based story. Lucknow, you will find Lucknow in every bit of that novella. So you take it as a work of fiction, or you take it as a work of historical fiction, or you take it as a work of imagination, whatever. But I think you will enjoy it, like I enjoy it. Thodi der ke liye, I was saying that Stephen King, some of you might be knowing, he's a famous author of horror stories. Many movies are there also of Stephen King. So I was like saying that thodi der ke liye Stephen King ki atma mere andar aa gayi. So I managed to write a horrifying narrative which I presented in the last part of my book. I hope you'll enjoy the history, enjoy the photographs, the images, the analysis, the descriptions, and the ghost story. Thank you all once again.
Thank you, Dr. Sarkar. Today, Ms. Mohita Tiwari will be in conversation with Dr. PC Sarkar. She's a journalist and author of a bestseller book, 100 Years of Lucknow University, A Legacy Unsaid, Untold. Is a senior correspondent with the Times of India, Lucknow. She's a history buff and has written extensively on the history of educational institutions like Allahabad University, Banaras Hindu University, Sampurnanand Sanskrit University, Varanasi. She's also a winner of the TOI Scribe Tribe Award for the best feature story on Munshi Premchand. You're welcome. Please.
First of all, congratulations, sir. It is your fourth book,
Thank you.
and that deserves an applaud, I guess. It is said not to judge a book from its cover, but we will begin this session with the book's cover. We want sir to explain about this historical picture that his book carries.
Well, thank you, Mohita, for being here and cross-examining me now. Don't ask too many difficult questions because you are a member of the press, and members of the press ask very tricky questions. Anyway, so to answer your question, just I was telling about one chapter of mine in my book about the artists of old Lucknow, or the Lucknow of yore. So there was this artist called William Simpson. He was Scottish, from Scotland, and he came to Lucknow way after the events of 1857 were over. He reached Lucknow in 1859, but he produced a series of stunning paintings on the ruins of Lucknow based on two very important aspects. One was his imagination. How? He has painted a work of art in which he's showing Shah Najaf being bombarded by cannons and people doing, and a massacre is happening. But he has not seen it. He has come to Lucknow after 2 years. So it is a product of his imagination and talent that he could paint such a stunning image or a work of art. So secondly, Simpson's expertise was this aerial shot which we are doing nowadays using drones. I don't know how he managed, but he used to paint these stunning paintings of his, showing an aerial view of Dilkusha, showing an aerial view of Residency. So those paintings are so impressive that they almost look like photographs. So the photograph that you see here, this is not an aerial view, but again you see the ruins of the Bailey Guard gate of Residency, and he's showing that somebody is entering sitting on a camel or something. So it's all his imagination. Because by 1859, the gate had been spruced up. It had been repaired, but still he's showing the ruin of that gate. So I thought it was a beautiful picture, and it will be very attractive for the readers and the audience.
Sir, many people are talking about Lucknow. Many authors are writing about Lucknow. Researchers are doing research. How this book is different from others? What unique it will offer if we want to have a summary of it? What is unique about it?
Yeah. So I'll repeat what I said just now in my address, that simply I talk about lost structures and lost monuments and forgotten events. And these things are usually not discussed for Lucknow by writers or by columnists. Everybody wants to write the more popular aspects of Lucknow. I write about the forgotten aspects or the obscure aspects. So again, this book is having chapters which I am confident that no other book has. And why am I confident? Because my personal library is quite vast, and I am having almost all the books which are available in Lucknow in hard copies, some in digital format which are very old. So I am confident that whatever I am presenting to the public here, it has not been discussed by any other author before this.
So for an author, every chapter of his or her book is close to heart. But according to you, which is the best chapter, or which is the out-of-the-box chapter? Like if I'm picking up the book, the first chapter that I should read is that chapter.
That's a tricky question. It's like asking a father, who is your favorite child? Okay, Let me think. I think my favorite chapter would be the succession, the issues regarding the succession of the various rulers of Lucknow or Awadh, because the succession was so tragic and so funny and so unusual in parts that I really enjoyed collecting that material, and I enjoyed writing it, and I'm sure you will enjoy reading it. That was really, parts of it are hilarious, I promise you. So you can say that is my favorite chapter.
And apart from its cover, the book also contains very rare pictures which we have not seen on internet. We have never seen it before. Like there is a picture that is my personal favorite. Should I reveal it?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Or it should be kept for the confidential for the readers?
Not at all.
So there's a picture on page number 144, soldier atop Alambagh Koti. It's a lovely picture. Just tell us, not the source, but
No.
about it, about the incident and everything.
To be honest, this is a very common picture.
Okay.
ठीक है? Now,
Common for you, but not common for us.
अच्छा, right,
Common for, yeah.
right opposite that, you will see a photograph of
Musa
Musabagh Koti.
Koti, yeah.
Now, that is a rare picture. That you will not find. Because if you...
It is not in ruins, right?
It is not in ruins.
That's
so, if you do a Google search on Musabagh Koti, you will find lots of photographs of even works of art and photographs in which they are showing the ruins and the pillars and the arches. But this complete northern facade of Musabagh is a very rare picture which I have presented here.
Any other picture in particular that you want to?
Mohita, to be very honest, in my previous, all my books have lots of illustrations, and I'm sorry to say my previous books are having much better illustrations
But
than
it takes
these.
a lot of time to collect and compile such pictures. Collection is the biggest challenge to get historical. So if you can shed some light on that, how you have managed it along with your...
Okay. You see, it's not that I'm purposely searching for images. Okay, I keep on researching, and I come across a lot of material. So it may have some farman, it may have some dispatch, it may have a photograph, so many things. So I keep on, it's a continuous ongoing process. It is not that I have collected this image for this book. No, this is in my repository, maybe 5 years, since 5 years, or maybe since 10 years. And I have decided now to put it for you in the book. So this, I'm not searching for any image, with any intent that it's for a future book. No, I like an image, I see it's rare, I keep it in my repository, and then I present it in the optimum time, optimum moment. So I felt that these images, which are like matching with the contents of the chapter, so hence these images should be suitable. But as I said, most of these images are not very rare. The rarer images you will find in my previous books, not this one.
So all the very best, sir. Since sir has told you everything about this book, almost everything, I will end this session saying that I wrote one book and took a rest of 4 years. And he has written 4 books back to back. Again, he deserves an applaud.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? So welcome. Please.
नमस्कार। जैसे आप अभी अगर आप लखनऊ में निकलें तो आपको मेडिकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस मिलेंगे, एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस मिलेंगे, पब्लिक यूटिलिटी के पब्लिक चीज़ें मिलेंगी। 1857 के बाद आप देखिए जैसे एकदम से आपका डफरिन हॉस्पिटल बना 1860 में, बलरामपुर हॉस्पिटल बना 1880 में, सेंट फ्रांसिस जहाँ के हम लोग पढ़े हुए 1818 में बना, आपका ये कैनिंग कॉलेज 1870 में बन गया था, बाद में यहाँ पे आ गया, आपका लेरेटो 1873 में इस्टेब्लिश हो चुका था, अब अपनी बिल्डिंग में आ गया, लालबाग गर्ल्स 1880 में बन चुका था, लखनऊ मिडिल कॉलेज बना। लेकिन आप अगर लखनऊ के अंदर जाएं 1857 के पहले, आपको कोई एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन नहीं मिलेगा, कोई, जबकि लामार्टिनियर 1840 में चालू हो गया था। और रेजिडेंसी की लड़ाई में इंडियंस के साथ लामार्टिनियर बॉयज़ जो थे स्टूडेंट्स, उन्होंने मोर्चा लिया था। रेजिडेंसी, यानी 1840 में इतना अच्छा अंग्रेज़ों ने कॉलेज बनाया, उसके स्टूडेंट्स ने रेजिडेंसी के अंदर से मोर्चा लिया। तो 1857 के पहले कोई भी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन, कोई भी मेडिकल कॉलेजेस, कोई भी कॉलेजेस, कोई भी पब्लिक की चीज़ें, कोई भी हेल्थ सेक्टर, कोई भी जैसे काउंसिल हाउस आपका विधानसभा, इस तरह की सिर्फ आप अगर जाएंगे तो महल मिलेंगे कि फलाना नवाब ने ये महल बनवाया, फलाने नवाब ने ये महल बनवाया, फलाने नवाब ने ये महल बनवाया, फलाने। लेकिन आपको जो सोशल, जो आज का मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री है, वो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक और वेलफेयर स्टेट के रूप में है। तो मैं अगर देखूं 1857 के बाद एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन, हेल्थ सेक्टर, वेलफेयर स्टेट और पार्क भी जो बने, पहले आलमबाग कौन, नवाब साहब के लिए, कैसर बाग नवाब साहब के लिए, ऐश बाग नवाब, लेकिन अब विक्टोरिया पार्क पब्लिक के लिए, चौक का पार्क पब्लिक के लिए, कंपनी बाग पब्लिक के लिए। तो मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि जो सोशल वेलफेयर की जो डेफिनेशन है, जो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक जो फैक्टर है, या जीडीपी जो मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री लिखी जा रही है, वो नवाबों के महल, राजाओं के महल या कितने शेर मारे, कितने हाथी, इस पे नहीं है। ये सोशियो इकोनॉमिकल और सोशियो वेलफेयर स्टेट को लिखी जा रही है। तो मैं ये चाहता हूँ कि क्या इन हिस्ट्रियों में कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें आई हैं जो पब्लिक के लिए काम किया हो 1857 के पहले। जैसे आप चलिए जा कहेंगे यूनिवर्सिटी अंग्रेज़ों ने बनवाई, विधानसभा अंग्रेज़ों ने बनवाई, लालबाग गर्ल्स अंग्रेज़ों ने बनवाया, कॉल्विन कॉलेज अंग्रेज़ों ने बनवाया, लखनऊ यूनिवर्सिटी अंग्रेज़ों ने बनवाई, मिडिल कॉलेज अंग्रेज़ों ने बनवाया। क्या ये चीज़ें 1857 के पहले सिवाय महल, पर्सनल महल के अलावा क्या मिलेंगी? ऐसा मेंशन है बुक्स में या करा हो ये नहीं पता, लेकिन क्या ऐसा है इसके अंदर 1857 पब्लिक के लिए कोई काम हुआ हो?
वैसे बताइए 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 आप ही बताइए।
जैसे यहाँ पे नसीरुद्दीन हैदर जो सेकंड किंग थे लखनऊ के, he had a great interest in astronomy. Okay, so the तारों वाली कोठी which now houses the State Bank of India Hazratganj branch, yeah, so that was built by the second king because he had a great interest in astronomy. So he got astronomical instruments brought from Greenwich to be installed there. वो उन्होंने कराया। नसीरुद्दीन हैदर ने एक चौक में शिफा खाना, यूनानी शिफा खाना बनवाया उन्होंने, गोल दरवाजे के अंदर चौक में, बाज़ार में है वो। दारुल शफा, दैट वाज अ हॉस्पिटल, तो वो भी है। उनका जिक्र क्योंकि ज़्यादा किताबों में नहीं है, पैलेसेस का ज़्यादा वो है जो ऑथर्स ने किया है, बट दीज हैव नॉट बीन मेंशन प्रॉपर्ली इन द बुक्स, आई मीन नॉट हाईलाइटेड रादर, दैट्स व्हाई public doesn't know much about these. I think the rest of the public utilities
actually
जी जनाब 1885 में yes please ma'am.
Can I ask you a question? Dr. Sarkar, sorry. Anamika, we don't have a mic. We cannot hear you. We will take just 2 more questions.
Kanak ji, can I answer? answer?
Yeah,
Because she put in a good question. See, I understand that you want to know, or you want some awareness of what was in Lucknow before Burhanul Mulk arrived here, right? The Sheikh Zadas and also there is a series of books by Hamid Affaq Qureshi. Qureshi Sahib has done beautiful work on that, and he has listed even the government, because when we talk of the Nawabs, basically governors, so they started from the point of time of Muhammad Shah Rangila, who appointed Burhanul Mulk as the governor of Awadh. But before that also, the governors were there, and there were Sunni governors, not the Shia governors. And you will find an entire list of their contributions, lives, their tombs, their deaths, everything. Qureshi Sahib has already listed in his books. Fine. But as far as the development is concerned, the emergence of Lucknow as a commercial center or a center of political activity, so that we cannot deny occurred from the times of Burhanul Mulk. And even during Burhanul Mulk and Safdarjung, Lucknow was like a peace, great city. It was Faizabad all the way. So from the times of Shuja-ud-Daula, when Shuja-ud-Daula, gentlemen, excuse me, thoda. Gentlemen, hello.
may we have some silence, please?
Please.
Now, Ms. Kirti will ask a question.
I just am completing one sentence. So, I lost the chain of thought. So, when Shuja-ud-Daula lost the Battle of Buxar, and then he realized that his military might was over, he started concentrating on Faizabad and again on Lucknow. So we can say that the actual emergence of Lucknow was not from the times of Safdarjung or Burhanul Mulk. It was from the times of Shuja-ud-Daula. Although we keep on saying Asaf-ud-Daula, Asaf-ud-Daula, but Asaf-ud-Daula simply came and occupied the palaces and the facilities already developed by Shuja-ud-Daula in Lucknow. So the importance, the commercial and the political importance of Lucknow started from that point onwards. The history didn't. The history of Lucknow is older. We can go into a lot, back in the history, where there were the clans and the tribes and the Ahirs and the Pasis, and they had their mud forts. That is a different thing. But that time Lucknow was not a commercial center, it was not a political center. This political and commercial importance started from the times of Burhanul Mulk, and that is why we keep on always discussing about the Nawabi phase. We never discuss about the other phases of Lucknow. That's it. क्रिस्प है लेकिन क्रिस्प होने के लिए कुछ मैटर भी तो होना चाहिए ना. When the importance is emerging from the time of Burhanul Mulk, then what crisp information you want from times जहाँ कुछ था ही नहीं.
Ma'am, just wait for one more year and he will come up with another book.
May I ask a question, please? I am Dr. Kirti Narayan. I am a historian and a professor of history. But I'm not going to ask you that. I just want to know that I have read your other books and I have got the other ones also with me today.
Thank you.
So what I would like to know is, out of all these 4 books that you have written, which is your personal favorite and why?
My personal favorite is Ode to a City. I have put in a lot of effort and research in that, and sorry to say it became so technical and it became a little voluminous also, the cost also increased, so it is not very popular. But I call it my magnum opus because I don't think I'll be able to write such a detailed book in future. It contains all the knowledge that I've gathered and all the analysis that I managed to do about the architecture and about the law structures which we will never see again. So Ode to a City is my favorite. Like Raj Kapoor had his favorite Mera Naam Joker, but it was not a success. or Guru Dutt had his favorite, Kagaz Ki Phool, not a success. So this is also not a success, but my favorite.
So you feel that it is your best researched book.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hello, sir. I'm Siddharth. And I will disagree with you. Oh, Lucknow to a city, I don't think so is, boring anyway. I think you rightly says magnum opus, I think, for anyone who wants to understand.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I've been born and brought up in Lucknow, but I think to read about and know about Lucknow, that's the best book. Coming to the first chapter that you've written, The Inheritance of Lucknow. While here you talk about the inheritance in terms of Awadh, rulers, and the shaky seat, but I want to ask from a very different perspective. What is inheritance of Lucknow per se? Right from, because you've written so many books, and there are so many things, as you said, beyond Imam Baras. There are roads, there are cultures, and there are nawabs, there are pleasure gardens, and their own stories, like the novella also you're talking about. These are stories, the myths, the musings that you're talking about. So if there was a very crisp thing that you want to say, that what is inheritance of Lucknow that the present generation can, sort of bask in the glory of. So in short sentence, we can say that what is that inheritance that we can be proud of today when in the age of social media where we are not aware of our own roots?
I'm not very sure I got your question, but anyway, if you want me to describe what is Lucknow all about in terms of,
Yeah, in terms of inheritance, that what is inheritance to you, given that where we are now, and we look back 50 or 100 years back in time?
Oh, that's okay, fine. So, okay. We all know that there's something special about Lucknow because I keep on saying that there are so many other cities in the country, maybe cleaner, maybe more beautiful, maybe better planned. But you see so many films on Lucknow, so many web series on Lucknow, song shootings on Lucknow. Why? Something is there which is not in the other cities. Maybe those cities are better planned, maybe those cities are better cleaner or whatever. So there's still something about Lucknow which persists despite the fact that the Nawabs are not here, the British are not here. And secondly, I always give this comparison. People say that things are changing and roughness is there and language is, getting spoiled, whatever. I still say that, okay, you feel that Lucknow is, getting, going below its standards or whatever. So you just explore the neighboring places of Lucknow, the neighboring towns. Maybe 200 kilometers away from Lucknow. Go there, see the language, see the culture, and then come back to Lucknow. You'll see. Again, you'll see that, no, boy, something is persisting. Something is there which is still not gone. It is still there very much. The food, the apparel, the style, the inherent way of talking, the inherent way of living one's, livelihood. So I am convinced that Lucknow is not finished. In fact, it is going by leaps and bounds, and it is becoming more and more famous. When Mayawati created her structures, and there was a lot of criticism, but now so many shootings and these things are happening, and so much of coverage is there, the beautiful structures. So those things come and go, politics come and go, but Lucknow is not finished. It is very much there, and it will remain so. Heritage is a very tangible thing. No, it is. You can see, you can feel, and there's some things which are intangible. You can't really hold it, but it is there within you. It is there all around you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarkar and Mohita, for such an engaging conversation. And I request you to please take your seats. And before I invite our chief guest, I would like to give you a small introduction about her. Ms. Vika ji, a lecturer by profession, a philanthropist and a traveler, dons many hats and with multi-hued feathers. Loreto Degree College, Lucknow. When Loreto changed hands, she took over as head of the Department of English at Awadh Girls Degree College. A prolific speaker, Ms. Zareen Vikaji also has to her credit the direction of many one-act plays and modeling competitions. After retiring from Awadh Girls Degree College, Ms. Vikaji was invited to serve on the managing committee as member and later as president, a post she held with distinction. She was also invited as resource person by the United Nations Office of Drug Control to Vietnam in July 2008. She delivered a series of lectures on drug control prevention, emotions, and relapse to candidates from 7 ASEAN countries who attended the seminar. She has also represented Parsis on the Minorities Cell for Education, University of Lucknow. Interested in the upliftment of women, she was a founder and committee member of Suraksha, an anti-dowry demand organization, through the platform of which she gave several lectures in colleges. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Ms. Zareen Vikaji.
Hello. I think we've had a long session, and I don't plan to take too much more of your time. I was very happy to be invited to be chief guest here by Kanak. I'm always happy to be invited by Kanak. It always proves to be very beneficial, and she is the one who, under the same platform, released my own memoirs some years ago. In fact, through the pandemic, she managed to arrange it and my college cooperated. When I was told that someone has written a book on Lucknow, and being a hardcore Lucknowite, I was very happy to come and see that, or hear rather, what had been written and how. I was surprised that the author was a gentleman who was a doctor in chemistry. After hearing him speak, I'm no longer surprised. With, if I may make bold to say, his mind is so precise. You know, someone necessarily dealing with literature is also precise, but you know, like we tend to be a little with our head in the clouds. But Dr. Sarkar has got everything down to a point, and which is a very interesting way of putting it. He has, in fact, demystified Lucknow for us. Any one of us who has lived in Lucknow, like my family has, very unusually for a Parsi, for the last 5 generations, as she said, it was the first Parsi family ever to come trading in silks and pearls with the Nawabs of Oudh. And they loved the culture of Oudh, and then they invited friends, and they invited doctors and lawyers, and ye wo, and that's how the population of Parsis grew. It never grew to be more than 200, but then in the whole of India, we are not more than 60,000 in your population of 130-40 crores. However, I am very proud to be a Parsi, and I am very proud of what Parsis have achieved. And not to take away from this evening's topic, I have always thought that Lucknow was a city to which I was proud to belong. Because yes, he has demystified it to a degree, but to the general public, it is always the Nawabs, the adab, the traditions, the food. All these things count to make Lucknow what Lucknow is. And there was a time when I used to feel, when I was much younger, that if you moved out of the circle of Lucknow and went anywhere, whether it was towards Kanpur or any other direction, you could actually feel a difference in the way people addressed you, in the way people talked to you, whether it was the rickshawala, or whether it was the shopkeeper in Hazratganj or Aminabad or wherever it was that you went shopping, or whatever. There was an ethos, there was a culture, there was something that was very good about it. Of course, Dr. Sarkar has talked about very relevant things, the architecture, the Nawabs. He wants to demystify the Nawabs. I wanted to ask him a question throughout when I used to take my friends visiting the Bada Imam Bada. Guides had to say, "Jisko na de Mola, usko de Asafudullah." Now, Asafudullah is said that he had a lot of grain stored in his godowns, and he didn't want to just give it to the people without any work done. So he would have the mosque built by, not the mosque, the Imam Bada, built by men in the day and broken down by women at night. And then he would make it again and break it again and make it again until eventually, of course, we have this very famous edifice that stands. Now, is this true? Have you found anything about that that is true? Or is it a childhood myth that I don't want to break? Mr. Sarkar? Dr. Sarkar, sorry. आइए आप मुझे तो प्राइक की जरूरत नहीं है. I'm a lecturer. I can my voice boots.
Well, ma'am, very interesting questions. Actually, a lot of myth and mythos floats around, and sometimes myths should remain myths. That's also a beauty of that. But anyway, coming to Asafuddollah, we know that he had a troubled childhood and youth, and suddenly he became so religious that he planned this massive structure which we admire today. As far as the construction goes, there are many versions, and it's still even not clear who was the architect behind this. Kifayatullah, Mohibullah, and all these things come up and names crop up, but we cannot say for sure. And regarding this Food for Work program, there's also a different version that the nobility of Awadh, although they were in poor state and they had no money, they were too proud to show their faces in the daytime, so they would work in the night so that nobody will see. And the structure was broken in the day and built in the night, because in the night their faces could not be seen. So you see another parallel story coming up. That one story is saying the ladies were doing, I don't think the ladies would be doing, but anyway, this story is that this work for food program. But again, if you go in a lot of depth, now this is a scientist talking, not a historian. So Asafuddollah had no shortage of money, and why would he, compel his noblemen or compel his citizens to do this kind of work? Why couldn't he just provide for the citizens as such? So this comes up. Then again, Asafuddollah, if he had so much money and he was building this edifice, then why was he pressurizing his mother back at Faizabad, and he was colluding with Warren Hastings? So these things, if you start discussing or analyzing, they form a huge network of controversies. So let us not go into controversies. Let us enjoy what we have today.
Thank you. I would like to maintain my story. I have grown up with it all my life, and I like to believe that the Asafuddollah was jisko na de Mola, usko de Asafuddollah. Other than that, of course, you have given a very enlightening view of Lucknow, and I will... उसी को तोड़ते रहे, बनाते रहे, शायद उतने आर्किटेक्ट्स नहीं रहे थे उन ज़माने में, जैसे ये कह रहे हैं. आज तो आप 10 आर्किटेक्ट ढूंढ लीजिए और आपको वो एक के बाद एक मिलते चले जाएंगे. शायद उन्होंने एक जो इमेज बना रखी थी वो उसी को फॉलो करना चाहते थे. अब ये सब चीज़ें तो कोई कह नहीं सकता. May I request a chair? Since I can see some other questions coming, if you'll pardon me, I have a knee that is giving me a lot of trouble. नहीं ठीक है. अरे thank you so much. जी कहिए. Someone, yes, आप कह रहे थे? हाँ, Mike.
Well, see, Asafuddollah was very well known for his generous nature, and he was a very benevolent ruler. So during the tough times of the famine, he felt that he wanted to help each and every section of the society. And he felt that the people from respectable families and upper classes were also in need of money. And he wanted to help them as well. But he knew that people from respectable families, those people would work in the night so they are not recognized by others. And as the work done by the people from upper classes was not up to the mark, they were not skilled workers, so whatever substandard work that was done in the night was demolished the next day by skilled workers and redone again. So almost 2/3 of the work was, it was demolished the next day. And that's why it took about 6 years to complete this Imambara complex. That was the main. Apart from an act of religious piety, the main objective of this Imambara, the Asafi Imambara, was to provide work and employment.
Correct. So one way or the other,
So
it
that's
was
why
his,
that phrase, jisko na de Mola, usko de Asafuddollah. Yes, please, sure.
one thing I want to add in this, जो आपने फरमाया कि एक फ्रेज़ था कि जिसको ना दे मौला उसको दे आसिफ़ुद्दौला, ये उस दौर में कहा जाता था। तो नवाब आसिफ़ुद्दौला ये फरमाते थे कि ये ना कहो कि जिसको देंगे मौला उसको देंगे आसिफ़ुद्दौला, जिसको ना देंगे मौला उसको क्या देगा आसिफ़ुद्दौला, ये कहो कि जिसको दिलवाएंगे मौला उसको देगा आसिफ़ुद्दौला। शुक्रिया।
That's beautifully said, yes. Yes, very good. All right, I think on that very magnanimous note to Asafuddaulah, we can come to an end, I think, Kanak. I think everybody is exhausted and it's time that we called it a night. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you all of you who have sat on to listen to the whole discourse by the doctor and me at the end. And we'll see what else Lucknow holds for us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to invite Kanakji to please felicitate our chief guest. Alina. I request Dr. PC Sarkar. Anuragji, our I'd like to request Mr. Alok Shukla to please come. And really very thankful to Mr. Alok Shukla for all his support for CII, for the venue. On behalf of this entire team of Lucknow Expression Society, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all our guests. We are also grateful to our wonderful audience, members of the media, CII, and especially Dr. Alok Shukla for all his support. Mr. Alok Shukla.